getting hot, thinking when they pop, my name drop. Ain't gonna rock the spot, but they got. See you with my team top, rap toss the pot. What you saying ain't mine, so it doesn't mean a lot. Bigger when they go by. Good morning, afternoon, good evening, good night. Tonight we have one of the former members of Red Pill Religion crew, Raius as he goes by now.
And, yep, formerly he was known as YoungBloodRay. But anyway, how are you doing, my good sir?
I'm doing good. It is good to be talking to you guys after so long.
I haven't been on Discord in years.
Oh, yeah. But hey, we have not missed a beat.
Yeah, and I only got on Discord because I was talking to a woman that I found on OkCupid. So, you know, I have my motives. So, yeah.
Discord makes me cry.
It can do that. You just got to find the places that don't make you cry, or in my case, make your own.
Yeah. Well, if you can't find a good club, make your own.
I'll start my own. I'll start my own club with blackjack and hookers.
But yeah. Anyway,
forgot the cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah, since it's been so long, bro, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Well, I used to go by YoungBloodRay, but now it's Raius, but people say Raius, but it's like I don't mind the name thing. It's like, and I come from the good state of Minnesota. I used to help a lot with like the apologetic stuff, but a bunch of the craziness that happened, I'm not going to get into because we'd be here forever. We all know what happened. And with me and another former Red Pill Religion member, I made my own thing. And I'm proud of that thing.
Oh, yeah, I know her as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've always wanted to think about having her on as well sometime for an episode.
I don't think she'd be opposed to that.
You talking about Diva?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always liked talking to you guys. I just have. It's always been a matter of I'm usually on Twitter and Facebook, and usually the only place I really see even Carlos here at is on Twitter, and that's not really anymore.
Yeah, with me, I know like I had to like limit my Twitter stuff because during 2020, I was like, if I see one more tweet, I'm gonna hurt someone.
It's slightly better than it used to be.
Yeah, I wonder why that happened.
Well, I mean, you have to remember they decided to put an autistic guy in charge of human connection.
I love the fact that he made community notes. That's made things a lot more funny.
Elon's a man of the future and an emancipator.
Oh, well, I signed up to be a community notes member.
Oh.
Yeah, because there's just so much chaos that I want to wreak on the world, and I just need the power to do so.
That's how you do it.
Yeah.
They reject you?
I haven't heard anything yet, but hopefully they'll go through.
Don't you gotta pay money for that?
I don't know. I don't think you do. They didn't ask for any money. But yeah. So tell the audience, Ray, what you've been up to.
Nothing much. I think I remember. You guys remember I used to work at Walmart. Used to. My family convinced me to work at the post office. That didn't work out. Long story short, they do treat you well, but they got to beat you into submission. I don't like being beaten. And what happened is they'd insult the sidewalk, and I had knee surgery in like winter of 2022.
So wait a minute. They actually told a black guy that he should be, he should go into the post office business.
Well, that's what my family convinced me to do. That wasn't a fun time.
Well, no, I mean you do realize the stereotype about the about the black mailman.
All right.
like Cleveland Brown from Family Guy.
I remember that.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I actually remember when you actually did work at Walmart, and I mean, over here, I mean, it's a little bit better than it used to be, but I'm like, I heard that they actually increased the pay, at least over here for Walmart. I don't know if in Minnesota if they did or not.
Oh yeah,
You're in
because
the free state of Florida.
I could probably ask my friend who I helped get a job there, who is a good friend of mine. Like I met him through actually Micah Curtis's server, and he and I found out we both live in the same area, so we like hang out a lot.
What,
Yeah,
you and Micah Curtis?
What was that?
You and Micah Curtis?
Yeah, I know Micah Curtis. Like I'm in his his Discord through Patreon. It's a very cool place.
yeah. And I mean, we've actually interviewed him as well.
Oh, nice.
Did we?
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah,
believe,
on a red pill. Yeah.
yeah,
Matter, a matter of fact, you guys send me a link. I could probably put in the politics server
Oh
if
wait, I
anybody
think
was
it
interested
was
there.
just Crazy Dean who interviewed him.
Oh, okay, okay.
Oh, you mean Mad Michigan Max? I,
It's good.
I still remember all the nicknames, bro.
Yeah, I remember like and this with this every time I remember him, I literally say Dean at this point.
Crazy Dean.
Yeah, and I mean, what's funny is like we actually this isn't the first time we've tried to go back and have some interviews with some of the former people that a part of Red Pill Religion. We
Yeah,
also,
the Jean Baptiste and Andrew Chatelites and them.
yeah,
Why Andrew left?
oh yeah, he did. Like, I think the entire project was called off
Oh, because
because,
It just doesn't suit a guy like him.
yeah, because I know like I was a little iffy on inviting Andrew because I didn't want like to say anything bad about Red Pill Religion and him still being a part of it. I didn't want to like make him uncomfortable.
No, you
yeah,
won't. He joined for the same reason most of us did.
Yeah, I could probably invite him to RNS now since I know he's good people.
yeah. I mean,
Oh, John
me,
Baptiste too.
oh,
I'm not
yeah,
trying to alienate people. It's just this is how
And
I list things. I always forget something.
what about Mikhail, the tiger avatar, the Romanian?
Oh, him I invited right away. I know that.
Yeah.
yeah. I remember in the old days of when we would do like what all my impression ever was, and what me and my good friend Blanco Indian have been able to do is we've been able to sort of do what we couldn't really do on Red Pill Religion, which is actually, interview more scholars and get their takes on the world.
And speak more often.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I know with so what we're trying to do in my server, we're like four people. It's me, Diva, our friend Servant of God, who if you're on the server, you know who that guy is, and my girlfriend Chelsea, who you guys probably remember. We're trying to make our own podcast, and it's not really political, but it's gonna be more nerdy. And one thing I remember too is like I remember like when I was doing like the nerd podcast with Red Pill Religion, like I had to find something topical to avoid dead air. Here's the thing: when we get this thing up and running, I don't think I'm gonna need that. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be no dead air between the four of us.
oh sweet. Is it going to have blackjack and hookers?
And
I
cocaine.
can make that happen.
Great. Eh, I mean, if it has cocaine and hookers, I'm already signing up for that. But yeah, I what I had sent you an email before, not like an email, a DM in the Discord before, was about sort of a little bit of a subject about like it is sort of what we did discuss while in Red Pill Religion, which was about gender differences
Yeah.
and dynamics. And like I don't know if I mean I can probably say things may have gotten worse since the red pill religion days when it comes to gender issues. I've noticed a lot more distrust between the genders.
Yeah, I've noticed that too, and I've noticed like there's a lot more of like an us versus them mentality because I think my opinion they've never changed. It's like no, I just want people to stop hating each other. That's literally been my opinion the whole time.
And just so we're clear, there's only two of them.
Yeah, that's the hill. I will die on it.
Oh yeah. And well, I remember still I get on Twitter and I'll literally have these people that will call me a misogynist. And you know what my response is?
I hate you all equally.
Well, not just that, well, yeah, that's one of them. But what I'll also say is the good thing about being a misogynist is I can actually define what a woman is.
Yeah,
And I'm only misogynist towards feminists.
yeah, same. At this point, it's like, of course, at this point, you'll probably say like, you can't say I hate women, but it's like, oh, that's another thing. So my first dog died a couple years ago, and I have a new one now.
Uh,
And this one's a female, so basically now I can just probably go like, if I hate women so much, why do I love this dog?
like this bitch.
That would probably imply I'm doing something to the dog, and I'm not doing anything to the dog.
Eh, hey, remember your body, your choice.
We save that for certain demographics.
And you
What you?
never notice they're never for gender equality when it comes to paying the bill.
Oh no. Uh, yeah, it's never about gender. I mean, I always just found it funny as hell because like women will say something like, "I'm tired of going out to eat with a guy at a restaurant and he expects sex from me afterwards." And I'm like, "Well, you could pay your own fucking way as well, and he wouldn't get the impression that you owe him something."
Well, she's willing to have sex on the first few days, and you probably won't want her anyway
Well,
as a
yeah,
girlfriend.
It was a good test.
yeah. Well, I've also so I mean, I've always just found it interesting how I mean, I've said things like in terms of trust have gone down because I have noticed that like many women will I've actually many feminists per se have tried to use the entire trans debate in order to say that there's something wrong with just biological men in general, where they will say, well, look, the problem is not with trans women, it's the fact that biological men are dangerous to women, and they just don't, and women don't trust them. So really, men have to change.
And when it comes to the sports issue, like, can you imagine the dedication it takes? Like, you're willing to cut your own dick off so you can be better at beating up women and get away with it.
Or beat them in swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although, I mean, in fairness, women actually have an advantage against men when it comes to ultra distant marathon swimming.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, it more or less has to like men are better than women when it comes to sprinting to a certain distance, but when you drag it out to ultra long distance, then women have a slight edge.
It kind of, I kind of think it's funny. So there's this one transgender activist who I see all the time in Mike's politics server because, well, not in the server, in the politics section there, because one person pays attention to this stuff, and I'm not putting him under a bus. I think this stuff's hilarious. But like, what this one proponent wants to do is they want to make like all sports co-ed. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I'm a football fan. Put a woman on that field, see what happens.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, here's what's the funny thing about it is like women complain about men invading their sports when, as far as I'm aware of, the NBA, the NFL, and every man's league that I can think of, like when it comes to baseball and everything, they don't actually have any explicit rule that bans women from actually joining a man's team. There's no explicit rule. It's just it'll never happen.
No, that would just be suicide. Because let's face it, even baseball gets crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like basically the world record for women is basically like 8th place for men overall.
That's why you see like all the 20th place men suddenly wanting to become transgender athletes, and it's funny they want to claim that's not the issue. Um, so I warned you guys, I'll be right back, but again, I'm not gonna take too long. I'll be back in a few minutes.
I know you gotta get your chick.
God, I've missed this. Again, be right back.
All right. Well, we'll talk about you behind your back while you're there.
That's what I expect.
Can you
All
believe
right.
this fucking guy?
Yeah, really. So, yeah, thinking about in terms of the gender issues of the day, like
Like
I do.
I'll never give gender ideology an inch, but like I'm fine with accepting like gay people. Like if you're gay, just whatever. Just
Well, I
the
mean,
but the tranny stuff, I just won't validate. It's not valid. It's not even real.
well, to me, to me, it's sort of different. It's like, I mean, I've always been more socially liberal. I mean, anyone that's knows that, and
Yeah.
I have personally have said that my only real issue with trans is they commit the logical fallacy of trying to use a mere description of themselves as a prescription onto me, which is an is-ought fallacy.
Like if they're like cis is a slur, well, I'll never comply with that. But if they pass as women, like I have no problem like conceding that. But if they demand it, then I'll just do the opposite out of spite.
Well, like Blair White. Blair White
Yeah.
passes, and I mean, here's the thing: I don't mind trans women or trans men. In fact, like, as long as they're not trying like the whole trying to make me go along with it.
Right, along same with the gay issue. Like, if most gay dudes were like Dave Rubin and Doug Murray, then I wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, it's more of that they have to get in your face sort of thing. It's like it's not enough for them to just say, "Oh, well, I just happen to like people of the same sex as me." It has to be, "Oh, well, not just do I like people of the same sex as me, but I have to let you know it."
Like, I want to know it. Like, gay dudes are generally funny, which is why I don't have a problem with them.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, I actually we I remember on Red Pill Religion, we actually had a gay
Yeah, yeah, gay theist.
yeah. So I mean, I we I've never had any problem with that. It's more, and what's funny is like me and him would be chatting, and I would make a whole bunch of like if anyone heard about it, they would think that I was the most homophobic guy out there. But me and him just buried each other like literally with I think what guys do in general is like they just fake insult each other all the time.
Yeah, and with the race issue, same with that.
Yeah, and my thing is that like I think it doesn't come down to really what is a woman as much as it comes down to is segregation right or wrong, or is or to put it better is some level of discrimination um a good thing. Like, to me, those are the real questions. And it's like if you're going to have the position that discrimination or segregation are just de facto wrong, then yeah, then let's just unisex everything.
Oh, but they're trying to bring segregation back in another way.
Well,
leftists.
yeah, I know that, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah,
It's like take a principled approach to it. Like if you're going to say, all right, segregation, discrimination, all those things are de facto wrong. And because they are de facto wrong in any circumstance, really, we're just going to, everything is unisex, everything is like uniracial or whatever across the board in all spaces. Now, you know, if that was the road that we wanted to go down, then yeah, that would at least be a consistent road. And it wouldn't be like pick and choose all these different areas. It would be like, yeah, just we go across the board. Now, if we're willing to go the opposite direction, we're say, all right, we agree that at least in principle, discrimination and segregation can be at the very least moral in some cases, then there should at least be a discussion of how far do we expand that?
yeah, like
And
we discriminate against pedophiles, and rightfully so.
well, yeah, but I mean, you get what I'm saying. Is like I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of people not being able to follow through on their principles.
Yeah, that's
Like,
why
Sorry
you,
about that. I'm back.
that's why you have so many DT supporters.
yeah, hi
The what?
Ray.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah,
All right, but yeah, like what we were talking about is about the trans issue as well, and how we were talking about how I think the real question to it is not whether or not what is a woman. I think the question is more, is segregation and discrimination right or wrong? Now, if you're going to be an absolutist about it and say, all right, yes, segregation and discrimination are de facto wrong and we should, completely eliminate it from society. Well, if you have that position, then yeah, then let's make everything unisex, uniracial, whatever. And let's just completely just get rid of the concept. Now, but if we're going to go the opposite route and say, well, at the very least, we can concede that there are situations where it is moral, we should at least be able to discuss a standard by which we go by in order to say, all right, what cases are acceptable?
Yeah, because you can make the argument, like say, like the restroom is segregated because they technically are. A man can't go in a woman's restroom.
Yeah,
Because I feel like people like they hear the word, they think of like what happened in the '60s, which I'm putting this out there. Yeah, that was bad.
yeah,
But I do believe there is gray area. We just don't think about it because we don't call it segregation. We just call it like, that bathroom's that one, that one's that one.
yeah. Well, I mean, to me, a lot of the problems that came down to even in the back in the 1960s, it wasn't so much that you had racist assholes who just didn't like people of a different race than them. It mean, like for one, that could just be a mild annoyance in your life where you say, "All right, well, I'm not inviting that guy to my barbecue because we obviously are not going to get along with each other." It was more so the fact that black people were being refused spaces, but
Right.
yet they were being expected to pay taxes on them. So basically, they have to fund these places, but they're not able to get the benefits of them.
yeah, but things have gone so crazy now that you have reactionaries on the right who are saying, "Well, there are benefits to segregation." Like, no, the whole thing was just stupid from the get
I
go.
have seen those people, and I do not like them as a conservative. If I
Like,
hear
like,
that, I'm just like,
like, it's so stupid. It just baffles me how people could have came up with that system and thought, "Yeah, this is okay way to live."
Well, it was always stupid because
yeah,
even even back in the '60s, there was this issue of like what do they call it? Like one drop of blood rule, where if you had so much as like a grandfather that was of a different color, or me, our grandmother that was of a certain color, that could determine your skin color. And it just became ridiculous where like in one state a person would be recognized as white, but in a completely different state they'd be recognized as black.
Then there's the paper bag test.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah, and well, and here's what's interesting because me and Blanco here are into history and stuff, and I always wondered about just how policies were back then and how they affect things. And
Right.
I remember how, funny enough, feminists tried to use like laws that happened back then to explain like sexual preferences for black men today. And like to give an example, back in the South, they had sort of a what they call it a matrilinear sort of system where your race was basically whoever your mother was. And that determined the rights that you got in the Southern society. And so they would say slave men would on purposely get with white women so that way whatever kids that would come from that would be free because they would be technically white from the mother. And I'm like, I mean, am I doubting that maybe some black guys did that? But even if that was the case, what's the excuse today?
Exactly.
I mean, so that rule is not in place today. And
It's not. No matter what the crazies say, the rules that were in the past aren't around now.
yeah, and I
And
mean,
they try to argue that they're well off and have better family structures and all that bullshit.
yeah, well,
Might be true to an extent, but still, it's still wrong.
yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, like a problem that I often have, like because me and Blanco here are fans of history, and we like analyzing history, and the problem that I personally have with people using slavery as an explanation for why certain disadvantages are happen now. It's not because I don't believe that, yeah, there might be some truth to that. There could very
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah, there's like 400 years of slavery and another 100 years of segregation. So of course there's going to be after effects generations later. But people
I,
today act like things haven't changed, which is ridiculous.
well,
Yeah, that's where I'm shaking my head at these people. It's like, no, we can acknowledge that bad things happen. Like, again, I'm a black guy and I'm into history myself.
yeah, and it's
Like,
sort of like how I acknowledged when it came to the the, the issue of like because a lot of the issues that people point to about where black people fall behind, let's say comparatively to white people, it's like a lot of these issues did not occur actually funny enough until after slavery. Like for example, um, police, like the police thing,
yeah.
where that whole like black people being arrested in larger numbers than white people only really came about after slavery.
Well,
That
obviously, yeah.
does that actually does kind of make sense.
Well, I mean, it makes sense in the sense that why would you want your slaves to be arrested? You couldn't use them then,
Right.
and so that would be one. So a lot of these effects, and for example, another thing is that the single, funny enough, like it's not funny, it's more sad, but it's in the sort of funny, ironic, sad way. But the the single parent rate today in the black community is actually higher now than it was during slavery.
And yeah, unfortunately, that's because of the government. Because they
And
get all these
segregation, which is another argument the reactionaries make.
Yeah,
right. Because I was trying to find people like always say talk about like social programs and all. It's like, well, the thing that benefits the single mothers, that was literally by Johnson, and that's literally by Johnson because he admitted because he wanted the minority vote. He literally had that famous quote.
And we'll get them voting Democrat for another 100 years.
I did not want to run the risk, so I'm just like, yes, someone else take it.
yeah. But I mean, to me, that stuff like that doesn't really surprise me a whole lot because I mean, if you're a politician running in a country, well, supposed democratic country, or a poorly, but you would logically want to increase your voter base if you can.
And there's benefits to voting Democrat economically, well, or financially. But
Well,
other than that, there's no reason to vote for these people. They've gone off the deep end.
yeah. Well, hey, man, you can't complain. You're the one that voted for Beijing Biden.
I didn't really vote for him so much as I voted against DT, the Orange Antichrist.
You mean Orange Man? Whenever I talk about Donald Trump, I always call him and Mike Pence Orange Man and Mr. Sparky.
I just call him the Orange Antichrist.
Yeah. It's so funny how me and like it's actually so funny on Twitter because both me and Blanco here will be accused of being like far right Christian extremist. When for one, I'm not a Christian, and two, like as I said, Blanco actually voted for Beijing Biden, and I didn't even vote at all.
Again, I didn't vote for Biden. I voted against DT.
And
When they go through your votes, does that make a distinction?
Oh no, I'm voting for DeSantis or bust.
fair enough. And with me, it's like I did vote for Trump, but it's like, hey, look at that. We can all have different viewpoints, and hey, look at us. We're having a pretty good conversation.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can personally get why people would like him, like on the conservative side. I do because he's more like what do they call it? He's he's not afraid to speak his mind sort of person.
Well, he does, and then he lies through his teeth about anybody who doesn't kiss his ass.
The,
Oh,
the way at this point, I'm just like, look, I don't care. Someone just fix this shit, and I'm down the crazy, the crazy guy who I don't even think he knows where he is can do
I
it.
mean, there's crazy, then there's not having any morals or principles whatsoever.
Well, he doesn't have those either. I mean, this is sort of the same guy who put in a pretty racist bill, and then like 3 years ago tried to say, if you can't tell between who you want to vote for, you ain't black.
so, I mean, oh yeah. Speaking of that, how did it feel like having your black card revoked, man?
I think they're still trying to find me.
Well, you know we're all on a list, right?
Figures.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if we were to do a deep dive through the FBI files, we'd probably end up finding a list we are all on.
I wouldn't doubt it. The FBI is basically just a muscle for whoever runs it now.
Yeah. I mean, well, to be frank, we seem to think that that's like a new development. It actually isn't. It pretty much has been that way since the Hoover administration.
It was just crazy
yeah,
ridiculous how much power he had. Like, he had dirt on everybody.
Yeah. So I mean,
kind
I
of
think is that I funny enough think that we tend to think that we are in a unique time period on a lot of things when we're really not. We're just like in the continuation. It just feels new because of all the media we have, as opposed to like back in the old time where like you had to read a newspaper or you had to hear it from someone.
yeah,
Politics
like
is basically a reality TV show.
I keep hearing about like, oh, we're getting spied on. I just look at him like, we have MLK's phone calls from the '60s. How do you think we got those?
Yeah. And those are
It's just like either way, this administration has been a colossal disaster.
Oh yeah,
There's no way to defend it. There's nothing good to say about it. I mean,
yeah.
if there was, I would, but
Eh,
there's just nothing.
you should see my family. They still support Biden.
It's just fucked up on every issue, from Afghanistan to China, Russia, and getting us involved in the Middle East, and is Russian invasion, like putting sanctions on them like it's any business of ours.
And
Yeah, that's the thing. Yes, thing. I keep seeing like all these flags, like not just with Russia and Ukraine stuff, with Israel. I like to see all the flags. I just think in my mind, I'm America's side. People can do whatever they want to. It's like you can feel
And
bad about it, but we have no business.
Today's Israel is
taking
not
part.
the Israel of the Bible, so but I still support them because they were just attacked for no reason, and they would have been exterminated had they been terrorists not been prevented from further doing things.
Yeah, I just don't want our boots on the ground.
Oh yeah, same here. I'm just like, I just sort of tell Israel, like, I personally have a preference for Israel over the Gazans. I call them Gazans because there is no Palestine. Sorry.
They're basically Arab, Egyptian, and Jordanian squatters.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
mean,
because
Like, nobody wants them.
nobody wanted them. Like literally, Israel offered them up to the Egyptians. The Egyptians said, "Fuck no."
yeah, and like people get on Israel for apparently being an occupying force, but I mean, Egypt upholds the same occupation, if not to a greater extent.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like Egypt used to be like a Christian nation.
Like the Gazans.
Like
Like
nobody remembers that.
you
Like,
notice that every Christian country that turned Muslim has turned to complete shit.
yeah,
Yeah, although I will say, in the Muslims' defense of that, a lot of that can probably be somewhat explained by the fact that our government keeps trying to quote unquote bring democracy to them. And I'm like,
I mean,
um,
look at Lebanon. Compare it to the early '80s. Compare it to now.
yeah, no, it's yeah, I mean, it's just a shit show all the way. And I'm like, look, if we just did not get involved with these people to begin with, I mean, I'm not saying that it would be sunshine and rainbows and fluffy kitties. I mean, I don't really see how it would have been worse.
And like we had no business in Afghanistan, but still we shouldn't have like pulled out that way because then the worst people came in and took over. Like it's back to the way it was 20 years ago.
only
Yeah.
now they have
Worse.
weapons and equipment.
Oh yeah.
Then there's that. They still had the weapons and equipment that the Russians left over when they withdrew.
I made the funny because I have a more pro secession leanings, and people would say, "Well, how is your AR-15 going to take on the U.S. government?" I said, "Well, we're not going to have just AR-15s because the U.S. government will eventually just leave their weapons to us anyway, like they've done every other people they've attacked."
Like they left everything there. They left the damn dogs there.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's just embarrassing. Like you fought a 20-year war in Afghanistan to replace the Taliban with the Taliban.
Then there's Taiwan. Like do you think they're gonna wait for another president to come in before he invades? Like he knows Biden's weak. He's not gonna do shit. Even though he said he was going to, but
The only reason I don't see China doing anything is not because of Joe Biden. I see it because China is kind of incompetent.
I mean they're all bluster, but still, like
Yeah.
if there's any time to take Taiwan, it's now. Speaking on that,
Yeah,
I don't want them to do it, but it's gonna
Oh yeah.
happen eventually if the communists are still in power.
yeah. Although on the funny side, there's actually starting to be a Christian upsurge in China.
Good.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty funny how you have to look to China for a Christian upsurge when you can't find that in any Western country at all.
And West is increasingly worse off for it.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, just
and
look at fucking the UK and Australia and Canada.
yeah, and well, I mean, a lot of the decrease also it comes from it also is due to gender dynamics, which I think you could probably agree, young, that like men are increasingly not wanting to go to church at all.
Yeah, I've
And
noticed that.
Well, it's not true where I am. Like the churches are just jam packed all the time. You barely even get a seat.
I know with me, I don't. It's not that I don't want to. It's that I have to find another one.
Yeah. But I mean, I've noticed that. I mean, I don't know how long it's been a thing, but I know at least now it's been starting to be talked about a lot more because, like, apparently, I mean, from what I've seen, men have always been somewhat less religious than women, but I think the gap has actually increased and over the years where it it does sort of affect communities now more so, and these churches where they really bit into the feminism bug and they're acting surprised why men don't want to go to them. Like I've said, even the pastor would not be there if he wasn't getting paid. Yeah, and I mean, I don't personally know how the communities would be able to revive themselves. I think it's going to. I mean, it took so many generations in order to get this way. It's going to take at least that many generations to get out of this mess.
I mean, it depends because there's churches that are exploding and other churches that are just declining. But I guess it depends on the audience. It depends on how the church runs.
Yeah,
That is
Like you
true.
go to those churches that are in auditoriums with the musical sets and screen, like going to a concert.
yeah,
But then it's those traditional churches that are just all solemn and uh that don't really have really much thunder to it.
yeah. I just think it's more the liberal churches that are dying off because that people just really just do not want to go there. Like especially men. Men just don't see any benefit that they're deriving from those churches.
And then there's the politics being ingrained on both sides, the right and the left.
Yeah.
Like, no,
Which
Jesus was not a Republican, and he was not a leftist.
yeah. Clearly
He just
though,
cared about his fellow man.
yeah. Well, I mean, I will say this. I mean, given Jesus's history with the government, like them being the ones that killed him, I mean, I wouldn't believe if he had some animosity towards the government. Um, but yeah. So I was also thinking about trying to think exactly. It all comes down to how I think the discourse between the sexes and the races has really degraded more so now to um where I mean personally for me I don't ever see there being a time when you're going to have a majority of men not liking women or vice versa, but I do think you're going to get to a time when men are just so much less willing to help or have anything to do with women that women in many areas are just going to have to be forced. Like they're going to be forced by their circumstances to have to learn to do things that men learn how to do because men just simply won't want to be alone and help them.
Oh, those are the reactionary MGTOWs and red pill communities.
Yeah, but I mean, we see it happening all the time though, where men don't want to mentor women.
And
Men,
a lot of men are afraid to approach women because of they'll get me too'd.
yeah, or they'll be put on blast and all that. What's your take on that, young blood Ray?
Well, with me, I do believe like what happened is it happens because like the internet has exemplified the reactionary people on both sides. Like on the left, you have who would be a good example here? You say Anis Sarkeesian, she's at of a job.
Well, it's not like she hasn't tried to make several comebacks, but just no, bitch, we don't like you.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I can go with her. Like, yeah, people. like her of her ilk who are, saying everything men do are bad, everything bad is male and all that. And on the men's side, you have people like Andrew Tate, Sneeko, who say women are bitches, they're only good for sex and all that. And that's what creates a divide because people listen to one side or the other. Because
I mean, it's
unfortunately,
pretty. There's a lot of like indication that Tate is a trafficker. Like they
oh,
just want.
definitely, he definitely is.
It wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, obviously, he hasn't been convicted, so I am going to, you know, do the due process thing and say, he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But
Okay,
if it is found out through a court of law that he is in fact guilty of trafficking, I would not be surprised one bit.
okay, I'll save our asses here. Allegedly, he is.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
that's the key words that will keep you from getting sued.
yeah. But yeah, and it's like everybody just wants to listen to the hot takes and take them as gospel, which unfortunately, yeah, if you look at the hot takes for 2 seconds and think about them, they kind of show up to be bullshit after 2 seconds.
Yeah,
And speaking of bullshitters, there's also that crazy woman, Pearl,
yeah.
Oh, right, heard.
just grifting the shit out of this.
Well, I mean, what color is you guys' Bugattis?
The same
Huh?
color as his, because he technically didn't own those.
Uh, he did own the women, though. Oh, I mean, allegedly, allegedly. He,
Allegedly.
Just reminds me of that Babylon Bee article. Sound of Freedom sequel involves. Oh my
uh,
goodness, I can't remember the guy's name. Chasing Andrew Tate.
yeah.
Ah,
Uh, well, if Andrew Tate had children, you know what they would be called?
Tater tots.
Yeah,
Muhammad.
tater
The,
tots.
Ah,
the unfortunate thing is, he actually has reproduced.
Oh, damn. Well, I
yeah.
mean, are you really surprised?
I'm surprised someone would let him.
Well, you have to remember he's filthy rich, and he has Bugattis.
Yeah, sure. I think Chris Rock said it best. If OJ had no money, he wouldn't be OJ Simpson. He'd be Orenthal, the bus driver, the killer.
Yeah,
And if he got away with murder, anybody can.
eh. Not like we're not, not that we're encouraging that, of course.
Allegedly.
No, no, nobody kill anybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I do honestly do find hilarious is that I do remember like how at least with when in case of OJ, I remembered like with the OJ case, like there was a stern divide where like the black community would not want to say that he was guilty at all, and but now everyone just sort of knows it and just jokes about it. And there's no divide on it anymore. So I mean, hey,
Uh,
we've united on that issue.
you know,
At least.
Hey, Chris, I made the O.J. Simpson joke myself, where O.J. Simpson said he doesn't go to the city that his wife was murdered in because he's afraid of meeting the killer. And and I said it's also why O.J. Simpson doesn't own mirrors because he doesn't want to run into the killer.
Nah.
right?
Allegedly. Uh, I also made the O.J. Simpson joke where O.J. Simpson starting to realize that he might have Alzheimer's because he went to the grocery store and he bought his wife some chocolates and some flowers, and then when he got up to the cashier to pay for it all, said, "Oh wait, I killed my wife."
I guess he really did do it. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
I do. What's hilarious about the like, just to be off topic a bit, but the funny thing about allegedly is like you'll literally have like on the news like man beheads 2 people on camera in front of like a bus full of people, and then right after it says that it says allegedly, and I'm like, we have the footage,
Like, I'm looking right at it.
but they have to say that because unless they've been convicted. Then they have it's a way to avoid being sued.
Right.
Which it just gets really funny at times how that works, because like I said, you'll have like these obvious cases where a dude is like he's beheaded like on a like I think I've seen it in fact on like this is like this guy, he beheaded a dude on a bus in front of all the cameras, and like the bus was full, so there's like dozens of people on the bus, and in the news article says right after it, right after like the tagline says allegedly. And I'm like, I don't think there's much allegedly here.
Oh, yeah, there's this time that this homeless black guy allegedly pushed a old Chinese woman under the subway when he was being escorted out by police, and they're like, "Why'd you do it?" He's like, "Because I'm God."
Oh, I mean, it's a reason. Not a good one, but it's a reason. Oh, and yeah, and I do get what you were saying, Youngblood, about how people in the Andrew Tate community will say that women are just for sex. And that's clearly wrong. Women aren't just for sex. They're also good for making sandwiches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I actually did, man. I troll so many people on Twitter doing shit like that, those jokes like that, and it's just the amount of anger I can provoke just making the minor jokes is just hilarious.
This is a kind of similar thing that Matt Walsh does. Like like last night, sounded like he was going to apologize for something. Like, okay, I'm sorry that I said that scientists were pulling data out of their ass. I didn't mean that. I meant they just went and found this pile of shit and just found it there.
Matt Walsh is like, he has that deadpan sense of humor, and I absolutely love it.
Oh God, I love it.
He reminds me of Norm Macdonald in that way, because Norm Macdonald had the same sort of delivery.
And the guy at China Uncensored, Chris Chappell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, be sure to try this new cologne. You'll be starving to smell this good.
I always find it funny. I see people get offended over jokes. I always remember the Duckman speech. I I'm always like, well, yeah, that's what comedy's supposed to do. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I've told people I've told you guys how I get my material, right? I basically I ask everyone, what are the things that they value the most? Like, what are the real things that really touch their heartstrings, and what really makes them feel good and fuzzy inside? And then right after they tell me, I then completely nuke everything they told me in satire.
And then there's the Golden Globes the other night where this guy was trying to make jokes. Like he made a joke about how Taylor Swift's getting all this attention recently. She just looked at him like she wanted to murder him. These people take themselves too seriously.
Yeah, and hearing that, I'm like, bitch, I watch football. They literally pan to you every time your boyfriend scores a touchdown. Don't act like they don't like the attention.
Yeah. Well, you have to remember that Taylor Swift has made a career off of telling everyone about her bad choice in men. And And oh, by the way, she supports Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Is she really the person that you want supporting you?
No.
Man,
At that point, you just got stuck in your car, like, oh.
well, funny enough, you know who else supports Joe Biden?
No.
Richard Spencer. You know the Nazi guy, the atheist Nazi, Richard Spencer.
Oh, gee, maybe that should be assigned to some people.
Oh, well, I mean, you have to remember that Joe Biden, he was the one that, signed, like, in his younger years, he actually sided with the segregationist on buses.
Yeah, when he's making up all these stories about him, like, hey Joey, you seen two gay people there kissing? That's love, Joey.
And I'm like, Biden, you were anti-gay marriage for almost 90% of your entire run in Senate.
He only became pro when he was vice president.
Yeah, and he only became pro as vice president when the polls started showing that gay marriage was more popular. And that really just shows like how his mind works.
Like
Well,
he'll just tell stories about that all the time.
well, you have to remember also, young blood, that Corn Pop is a bad dude.
Oh, poor Pop. That is one of my favorite nonsense speeches he's made.
I will say this: the one good thing that has came out of Joe Biden's presidency is the memes.
Yeah.
Poor kids can be just as successful as white kids.
Or I have hairy legs. And you don't.
When I was grabbing, I was taking a shower, and the dog just came in, and I was just grabbing its tail. It just dragged me across the floor.
Yeah. Or well, you also, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And
Oh, yeah.
If you vote for none, then you ain't black.
I quite literally, because I think that Joe Biden has really gotten to the point of dementia where you remember, like, if you've ever had a dementia-ridden grandpa or grandmother, and you notice that the filter is completely gone, like the things that they wanted to, like, that they wanted to probably tell you, but they wanted to maintain like niceness. I think that's completely dead in Joe Biden. Like, he's hit the dementia wall where he's lost his filter and ability to lie.
Yeah, the show Don't Walk Run has a gold mine of Biden's gaffes.
Oh, I love that guy.
I am waiting for the moment where he just out and out says the word live TV.
Well, it's all just a bunch of malarkey. Uh,
Oh yeah,
and
not just. Oh yeah, when he's talking to the steel workers, like, listen here, fat.
it's it's. I mean, I'm pretty clear. Like, he'll lie about just to be. Well, he's finding it harder now because of the dementia to lie, because when you get dementia to a certain extent, that whole gap just leaves your brain, and you
Or when
just
you have brain damage like John Fetterman, now he's being honest.
well, you have to remember, he had brain damage, he had a stroke, but now he got good medical treatment, and now he's becoming more sane once he got the treatment.
Yeah, he's actually saying things that kind of make sense now.
Yeah, I
Like
mean, he's
South
still,
Africa has no gall to call out Israel's genocide or whatever.
well, yeah, well, I mean, you have to, well, he still dresses like a 60-year-old janitor, but still.
Well, man, the people.
Well, here's what's funny about all the policies. Like, I always found that to be the funniest thing that people would go after him for, is the fact that he doesn't dress like a typical politician with a suit and tie. Um, like I always found that to be the funniest one because like for my entire life, all I ever heard was, "Oh, all politicians are is just men in suits, just cheap suits." And I'm like, "Well, you have one guy who's not doing that," and then they complain about it. I'm like, pick a side. You want men in suits or you want more casuals. There's no in between. So I mean, and I always thought it was funny because it's like out of all the policy decisions and all the gaps he's made, that's the one thing that you're choosing to laser focus on is his fashion choices. But yeah, anyway, we've gone on for an hour. Um, so Youngblood, can
Yeah.
you tell about any projects that you got coming up?
Well, I know eventually we're trying to get this off the ground, but so me, one of our former mods at Retro Ridge and Diva, our friend Servant of God, and my girlfriend Chelsea, we're all trying to get this podcast off the ground, which hopefully we should be doing that this year, and I will keep you guys posted when that happens.
You know what you should call it?
But
You should call it like something like Yellow Pill Philosophy or something like that, or because we already got the Purple Pill Philosophy podcast.
All these pills. Nobody came out with a green pill yet.
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Um, I think the green pill would just be a laxative.
Yeah, red pill, blue pill, white pill, black pill.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, so I look forward to seeing you and Diva and your girl and everyone being able to get that podcast of you off the ground.
So we don't expect to see you on Twitter anytime soon.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and be there because I know I'm still in the other circles. So I'm gonna try and be on there more because I do think I've melded out more than I
You
was in
got
2020.
passionate, insane people on all sides, but you can at least speak freely somewhat.
Yeah, and I do feel like what happened in 2020 is I just got really, really angry and I had to get off before I was gonna go crazy.
Well, more crazy than you currently are.
If it helps, if it does help, I take edibles with cannabis now, and that does help mellow me out too.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, no complaints here, bro. You got to do what you got to do.
Oh yeah.
But but yeah, I wish you guys all the best. Do you guys have any like videos or whatever that you plan on releasing?
Not yet, but that's a good idea for the future.
All right, cool. And trying to think. Oh yeah, can you tell the audience where they can reach you?
Well, I'm RiceCon on Discord, and I think if anybody's familiar, you all can DM me. And if you want to join our server, RNS, you would have to ask me, and I'd run it by the other admins.
Spell that for the audience.
RNS, Religious Nerd Squad. But I want to be clear, like it's not like just a hey, we all got to approve you because we've had some issues.
Yeah.
But if you're a familiar face and we trust you, like
Yeah.
one or two or both, you should be fine. Otherwise, do RiceCon on Discord, and I'm still YoungBloodRay on Twitter.
Sweet. Yeah, well, it was great to have you on, bro. I'm glad we got to talk and we got to actually discuss a lot of pertinent topics. I didn't think we'd actually get through a lot of this.
Oh yeah, it was a great time.
But yeah, anyway, make sure to see our good friend YoungBloodRay here. And that is all for today. This is Mr. Brass and the rest of the Purple Pill Philosophy crew saying goodbye. Get wise.
Good night.
Cock missiles, lock issues, treat flesh as Scott tissue, rip through it if the beef we would get